Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, your paranormal portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together.
Hello and welcome everybody into Monday Madness. Woo! Where did that week go, Steve?
Oh, I'm telling you, I didn't know I was on camera yet. I was sharing it out here to some of my people.
Absolutely, go right ahead.
Every day is either a Monday or a Friday for me anyway, so it all I work from home full time, so it's either Friday and I'm not going to do anything, or Monday and I've got more to do than I know what to do with.
Sounds a little like me, that's for sure. I've been running hot and heavy with these. We had Mark Shaw yesterday. What an interview, the death of Marilyn Monroe. And, you know, Mark was, 30 different books he's written, and he was legal defense attorney, worked with Melvin Belli. I mean, just talking to him, you know how we like to pick people's brains and hear stories and anecdotes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But what a research he's done on this one. First, he did the Dorothy Kilgallen, right? Mm-hmm. And then this one is collateral damage that has to do with Marilyn Monroe and the Kennedys. And boy, I'll tell you, those boys were up to their neck in trouble, weren't they?
All the time.
I mean, constantly. And what did we do the other night? We had so much fun. Oh, Sue and Kiwi. We had a lot of fun talking about origins of the paranormal and supernatural, like in the Bible and all through the little soul reapers in New Orleans and stuff. So we've been having a ball. And the chat is just loving Monday Madness with Steve Stockton from 13 Past Midnight and mysterious disappear. I always get that name wrong. Mysterious disappear. Wait a minute. No.
Close.
Missing no.
Missing persons and mysteries.
There we go. It's so simple and I make it so hard. But wow, that's something else. And I saw a little picture on there of you.
Me and Dave Politis. How about that?
What? How was it?
No, it was great. Dave's a really nice guy to talk to. I guess it was his wife too, whoever the woman was with him there in the booth. I was going to get a signed book for a friend of mine, but they'd sold out all their books Friday night. Wow. But yeah, I had a good conversation with Dave, gave me a fist bump at the end.
Wow, nice.
Also met Bob Gimlin from the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot footage. And good old Bob, he's almost 90 years old, so he's probably not going to make a whole lot more appearances.
Right.
I don't know, though. He was in good shape for almost 90. He acted like he knew me. I was walking by his booth, and I wasn't even going to stop there yet. I was headed to see Clyde Lewis. And he yells at me, and I looked at him, and he's staring right at me, and smiled. And, hey, kid, come here. And Ann from KPNL was with me. Afterwards, she's like, do you know him? And I'm like, no. He's like, well, he acted like he knows you. So
right.
But either way, it was great to see Bob.
Wow, that is fantastic. And look, we've got a full chat already. We got Jeanette Sanchez and Laura Stevens is here. Hi, darling. And Pam Smith. Hey, how you doing? And I know some of these guys came with you. We got, is it Cowie Snyder? He's all the way from Hawaii. Oh, bless you. Welcome
most of these are my Mansonites that joined me over on 13 Past Midnight.
Chris
from we're like a kinder, gentler Manson family over there. So.
Well, hey to everybody in the chat. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Carrie F and everybody. Cassie Foster, Uncommon Belief is here. One of our fabulous mods. I'm sure Sue will be popping in here too, pseudonym, because she says she just fans out for you, Steve.
Oh yeah. Laura Stevens is here. She's my newest discovery and
hi, sweetie.
Possible protege. She was on camera for the first time the other night and did such a good job. Had her on a show last night.
Fantastic.
She did fill in for me. Trying to get her to do a podcast or a show or something. She works in a sawmill and not in the office. She's out there
Good for her.
wrangling lumber and putting it through that whirling blade of death. So, and then
Yeah, that's
Jeanette
fantastic.
Sanchez, that's my little buddy from Southern California. She's the one that I was getting a signed Politis book for, but ended up since he was out of books, got a thumb drive full of
wow.
Bigfoot information.
Oh, wow.
And some stickers. He had some stickers and patches and stuff left.
Well, that's really nice because I
See
can
that
imagine.
or not, but he
I
signed
see
that
it.
for us. So,
Oh, how cool is that?
she'll be happy. Dave was just very gentlemanly, very hospitable, nice guy.
Fantastic.
I almost feel bad about challenging him to arm wrestling. I did that on my channel one night. I've never had a problem with Dave, but some of his fans are true zealots, and they like to point fingers and say, "Those are Dave's stories. You took Dave's stories."
But they're not. They're the stories of the people and the families that went missing. They're the stories of the people that went missing. And he does a more clustered. You have to meet so much criteria with him, whereas
mine just
yours and Bill's show, they
a lot of missing people.
Absolutely.
So, but it's all good as long as the names get out there, and if
the stories get told.
Either help one person get back home or one family find closure, then it's all worth it.
See if I can turn this light down a little bit. I look like a white girl.
I've heard that you are. That's the rumor.
Yeah, it's Native American and can't prove it, right? Oh my God. Can you imagine? Well, that's what went on with a lot of us too. I know we're talking about Titanic tonight. We'll get on it, but Stephen, I haven't seen Steve in a week. So, but that was the thing because, you hear about the Carlisle School and all that. And that's what one of the things my grandmother told me about because she said that being Lenape, a lot of them were redheaded and very light, skinned. And even, they weren't accepted by either side because of that, because, you were Native and couldn't prove it kind of thing. But, nowadays you kind of have to, that old thing where, there's only 3 things that have to prove what they are by their blood type. And that's racehorses, dogs, and Native Americans, and that's pretty sad.
It is, isn't it?
It is, and if that's what I have to do I know who I am. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I know who my relatives were. I've seen pictures of my great grandma who's full Cherokee, and she looked at it, and really my dad's whole side of the family, because that grandma was half, and they've all got that look. My dad had jet black hair, and the whole Native American nose, and jet black hair the day he died, 2 days before his 82nd birthday. So
bless him. And that's my grandmother looked at in her face. I mean, I have the high cheekbones. Say they're still a little puffy.
Mine are under a bunch of fat, but they're way up here.
Yeah, but my sister, she had the long black hair and the darker and a little bit darker. She just got tan faster. She was out in the sun. I don't burn, I get tan, but I've just been busy. I've been working. So anyway, we are here tonight, Monday Madness. If you're in the chat and this is your first time in, I just wanted to tell you that kind of toward the second half us a thing, and we'll see if Steve and I know anything about it. If we don't, we'll tell you we don't, or maybe he has a story and I don't. But usually with Steve and I, he'll have a story, and that usually sparks off about 5 with me, and then my 5
that'll remind me of 2 or 3, and then we can go for hours.
But yeah, I was really pulled to do the Titanic tonight, and in my family, I don't know how this affected you, or, I know you and I have talked about it a little bit, but I honestly think my oldest son was probably on the Titanic. I think he's reincarnated from it, because when he was about, 4 or 5, he loved to read. And I mean, he was reading chapter books before he was in kindergarten, even though they were like Goosebumps, which chip off the old block. But it was almost like, he could talk about it and say things that he shouldn't have known at that time. And it wasn't anything profound. Like I remember it, I was trying to get to a lifeboat or so. It wasn't like that. It was subtleties a little along the way. But I think the thing that kicked it for me is we used to go to the library all the time, and he got a book on the Titanic, and the way he was looking at it, and and looking at the designs on the plates. There was different for, steerage, third class, all the way up to first class. There was
Yeah.
different designs, but he seemed to really resonate with the first class. So it was just like you couldn't pull him away from it. And he went and when the exhibit went on tour. Remember when it first started before it landed in Las Vegas? There's little break off ones, but it was a big one before it really took off and stayed there. And I think there's one in Georgia and an aquarium somewhere
I think
else.
they still have a traveling exhibit, and then
Do they?
Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, they've got a Titanic museum there with a lot of stuff in it too. But I haven't been to that one, but I've been to the permanent exhibit there in Las Vegas.
Yeah. But yeah, he came back and he was very quiet. He went with his grandparents, and when he came back, he was just a mess. So that was one of the things that kind of drew me to it as well. And he would ask about it. We learned about it. I remember when the game came out, we played that when it was on the computer PC way back in the day. And it was just so. I think it struck everybody that way. Everybody that hears the stories, everybody that thinks about it. It's just one of those heart-wrenching things. You can't imagine being in that position and being so helpless and and that kind of thing. But do you know of any of the history on it or anything like that?
As far as the boat itself or the exhibits, or
no, the Titanic itself, like anything on it?
There's a lot of rumors out there. There was White Star was the parent company that ran those boats, and there was a sister ship to the Titanic that was almost exactly alike, and I can't remember the name.
The Olympia.
Yeah, and there is a conspiracy theory that it wasn't the Titanic that sank; it was the Olympia that they switched it up for insurance purposes.
Yes.
So I don't know how much stock I put in that, but it does make for an interesting story.
It does. And the Olympia had just come in a couple of days before in port, right next to the Titanic, and she was damaged. And she was damaged with a rip along the side bottom. Just a little, like a tick, 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 tick. Not a big rip, not a big gash, but like somebody had just done like a little typewriter dash, 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 dot, dot, dot kind of thing along the side. And she was there to get fixed. Of course, she had the same terminals, that were in there. Remember, it was pockets, sections. So if one filled up, the other one wouldn't. And that's what supposedly went wrong. And the water, went over and into it and then brought that one side up. And that's why it went down and broke off before it went in. But I've heard that too. And I've also heard the rumors, and a little deeper than rumors, a little bit of fact there, a little bit of, as we call sauce on that, is the whole Jekyll Island thing. Because what I had heard, that it was a bunch of bankers do right before they were creating the Federal Reserve, which is not federal, nor is it a reserve. And all the bankers got together, and they got in there, and they wanted to do this. And there was a couple of big bankers that were fighting them on it. And it was just very odd that the bankers that were fighting them on it were given tickets and invited on the Titanic. And one of them was, what's his first name? It's John Astor. And he had gotten, I think he got divorced. He had a really young new wife, like real quick. And she was pregnant. And he was probably the richest man on earth at that time. He was worth, let me see, I wrote it down, $87 million. John Jacob Astor. Yep. And he actually was offered a seat in a lifeboat, and his young pregnant wife and her nurse got on one, and he was offered one because of his stature, and he gave it up to a young mother with 2 children, and he went down with the ship. So that kind of goes to his character, that if they were fighting to do something crooked, with the money, and on Jekyll Island, which why would you have a meeting on an island like that? Everything was so secretive. Even their valets and servants weren't allowed to go. They were all undercover. And he might have stood up.
Bohemian Grove of the South.
He very much could have done that if that was his kind of character, and it's amazing somebody like that got through. There's just 1,000 stories. There's as many stories as there are people. And I think it was 1,500 people died. I have here that it broke in half, and gosh, it was 892 feet and 2 inches long, which is longer than 2 football fields against each other. That's a huge ship.
So when it stood up on end, the high end of that was probably what, like 500 or 600 feet off the water.
Off the water.
I remember in the movie,
Yeah.
it showed those people falling. They're
Yes.
holding on, let go, and they would hit things on the way down and just spin off into nothing. Oh,
I mean, that's
I can't
up
imagine.
That I can't imagine it either. And when it broke, it seemed to settle because it went down and then it broke off. And the two pieces are actually a third of a mile away from each other. But the debris from it spreads over 2 miles on the bottom of the ocean. And it's off the south end of Newfoundland right now. You know, which actually doesn't go with the original story. They were looking for it in a different place, but they finally found it. Of course, you know, what was it, 84 or something like that, a little earlier, but they started getting things from there around then. So that's just amazing. And all of these artifacts that they're pulling up from there, you wonder what survives that amount of time, because at that point in time, it had been under the, 60 years? 70 years. So is amazing. Of course, with all the animals and everything and the fish, of course, any bodies that were left there were picked apart and gone. The bones would have disintegrated due to the salt water and everything else, because the ocean claims everything eventually. But the shoes, some of the clothes, some of these things like a whole set of hairbrush and mirrors and things like that, just virtually untouched, that survived. And of course, so many of the plates still stacked up. You remember all the pictures you'd see as the thing went through to look at it. And that great big grand staircase that I put there on the cover art that we did tonight, that grand staircase has always haunted me. And there's a ghost, one of the most famous ones, that was seen in the exhibit. Now, the exhibit that it was in, I don't know whether it was rebuilt or it was a piece of one or of the grand staircase or what. I don't know. I would assume it was a replica, but I don't know that for sure. And there was a photographer there to take pictures of the grand opening of the exhibit. And he's behind the ropes and he's setting up his camera. And all of a sudden, he's looking up at the grand staircase, trying to get an idea what lens to use and all that. You're a photographer. And he looks, and here comes this woman down the stairs. She's wearing a long black dress with a high white collar, and her hair's all done. And she's just coming down the stairs, and he's looking at her, and he says, well, hey, startled. He says, would you like your picture taken? You can pose and, I'll take your picture here. And she just ignores him and keeps walking. And he just, oh, well, maybe she's busy, whatever. And he turns back to his camera, turns back around, and she's standing right behind him. So startles him. And he thought she had left. And he asked her again, did you change your mind? Would you like your picture taken? And she just smiled and faded right away in front of him. That's one of the ones that's lasted throughout the years with that story. So that's pretty startling. I don't know, has anybody in the chat ever heard of the ghost stories from, let's see, I'm missing a lot of this. They're having a good time in here talking to each other. Let's see here.
Yeah, that's what Callie's talking about, was the exhibit there when it was at the Luxor. And I think it may still be at the Luxor. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But they had I think it's just a copy of the grand staircase. They're supposedly made from the original blueprints. They've got the same thing in Pigeon Forge. But yeah, the lady in black, she was seen there in Vegas on that grand staircase. And she was supposedly crying for her famous friend, Margaret Brown, who also went down. And then they have a promenade deck replica of that. And supposedly they've seen the ghost of Frederick Fleet, who was he was the guy that he was sighted the iceberg a little too late for him to do anything. So a lot of people consider him responsible.
Yes, and one of the things that is part of that is because the guy, had the shift before, was supposed to take over. Everything got shifted. The crew got shifted. The chain of command and everything was last minute. I'm not sure what was going on, but some of the crew got moved to another ship, which they were very lucky. They were upset at first, but as fate would have it, they were lucky that night. And one of the guys that was supposed to have his job accidentally took the key with him that would have unlocked to where the binoculars were that night.
Mhm.
So he was having a hard time, getting another pair to see. And he never got over the guilt of not being able to warn people ahead, in enough time. They were going so fast and they were at high speed, but he's actually survived at the last minute. He got off, and he wound up being married and everything, never got over anything. But when his wife died, that was it for him. And he wound up hanging himself in the garden. And now he is seen in that exhibit where he would have been standing the night of his sighting of the iceberg, and he just keeps repeating that. And I've heard a couple of people that have gone in there for investigation or whatever, and they get these EVPs of "I'm so sorry, it was my fault, to carry that kind of burden. For sure it wasn't, his fault. And it's just horrible what guilt and regret can do. It can sure cause a ghost. I can tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is very sad. Uncommon Belief here says it's so sad. And it is. And I think that's one of the things about the Titanic that is. I mean, you've got all the bodies. If you imagine some of the little facts that I know is there was supposed to be something like 40. They had room for many lifeboats. There would have had to been full capacity for each lifeboat. There would have had to been 46 to get everybody off of there. And they had less than 20 because they didn't want to take up the room at the last minute. They had no practice runs to where the lifeboats were. And we also know that, and I believe this was found during the exposition, when they actually went under and were able to go through and get like underwater drones or whatever you call those things that could take pictures throughout, that they did in fact lock the doors on the third class in steerage. So they couldn't get up and fill up the boats. And most of the boats, lifeboats that were launched were half full.
Yeah. It was just tragic all the way around. And I read one story about a guy that about a week or so before voyaging on the Titanic, he sort of had a premonition.
Yes.
And he sent a postcard or telegram to a friend that said, right now I wish the Titanic were lying on the bottom of the ocean. Yeah, he ultimately got his wish.
Absolutely. I've heard that there was a curse put on it. There was something about the people that built it in was it Belfast? Belfast. Mm-hmm. And it was Protestant and Catholic. And supposedly one of the numbers that they put on there when you flip it backwards, it said no Pope. Which, and I just like, wow, talk about your conspiracy theories. But, some of those things are true. I mean, these guys that built it, they were really against, and it was going to a Catholic company. So you never know what some guy in the last minute painting stuff on would do.
And it was that, and Callie's asking in the chat there, did someone say that God can't sink it? That was what, I don't remember who made that claim, but somebody say God himself can't sink the Titanic.
Right. I heard that was Ismay. And I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah,
but
I don't
he was
know
really, I can't, you don't quote me on that, but I'd heard it was Ismay. And because he was a squirrely little character. And I'm talking about Bruce Ismay. And he was, I'm not really 100% sure what his job, when his involvement, whether he's one of the engineers, one of the developers, or he was sent there by the company to prove. His whole thing was they had to get there faster than any other ship. Mm-hmm. And he wanted it to go full speed ahead, more speed. And he was the character that, there's a lot of different rumors, but to listen to people that were there, the survivors, one of them was in the lifeboat with him and spoke at the trial and said that not only did he escape when all women and children should have been first, but he disguised himself as a woman. And he was in one of the first two lifeboats that left. So to me, it almost sounds like he knew something was coming. Mm-hmm. I don't know how or, what, but to do that, to portray yourself as a woman to get in a lifeboat, and he survived. And through the trial and everything, all of that stuff was brought out. And in the exhibit in Las Vegas, Actually, his picture will not stay on the wall very long.
Yeah.
It rattles and shakes. You can watch it on CCTV. It'll rattle and shake, and then boom, hit the ground.
Hit the
And then
ground.
they
Yeah.
have to come and they have to put it back up. And yeah,
And,
so they're not too
earlier,
happy with
I
him.
mentioned that the lady in black cries after her friend Margaret Brown. It's Molly Brown, the unsinkable Molly
Molly
Brown,
Brown.
is who that was, and
Hmm.
she did survive
Hmm.
famously.
Hmm.
I don't think they called her that until after she was dead later
Yeah.
on. But she was a socialite philanthropist, and
But she came into New Money and she was like a real down to earth country girl, wasn't she?
yeah,
And she was not accepted by the socialites at all. And who was it? Debbie Reynolds did a great portrayal of the unsinkable Molly Brown in that, and she was something else. She really kept everybody in that lifeboat going. She had the
well,
big
she
fur coat.
convinced them to go back. The ones in Lifeboat
Yes,
12, she convinced them to go back to the debris field and pick up more because, like you said, half those boats weren't even half full.
sure. And I know right away when a boat sinks like that, especially something so large, when it goes under, there is a vacuum that is
Yeah,
created
like a
and to
huge
pull you right
undertow
down.
that suck everything down. Yeah,
Absolutely. And everybody was trying to get away from that. But you have to think, I mean, the air was cold, it was freezing where they were,
Mhm.
and the water was 28 degrees. So the minute you're hitting that water, it doesn't take long for hypothermia to set in, to get numb. You can't move, and you're basically, that's why so many of the bodies were just like covered in ice, ice crystals and stuff.
Yeah,
Most of the bodies were not recovered. Some of them that were recovered, I mean, these guys would go out in boats and pull them out of the water all day. And some of the
yeah,
larger vessels just went ahead and gave them a burial at sea.
yeah.
All of the first class people were given wooden coffins, and most of them were not identified, and they're buried,
Mhm.
with just numbers.
But yeah, with that water. Do you remember? I think sometimes back in the 70s, there was an airliner that crashed in the water. I think it was somewhere in New England, like around Boston or New York or somewhere like that.
Yep.
And I remember watching them on the news. They were doing a live feed,
Hmm.
and they didn't mean to show it, but they were pulling bodies out of the water. And those people were literally like frozen, like they were still sitting in seats and stuff. And that's always stuck with me. So you can imagine
Yes,
where
I
the
remember that.
Titanic went down, how much colder that water would have been.
I believe that plane came out of Washington D.C. and it was so cold. I was working here. I was here in New Jersey, and I was working in a factory called Air Cruisers, and it was right before I left and went into the Army. And I went home with a friend because the blizzard was so bad
Mhm.
that you just didn't want to drive if you didn't have to. And she lived real close, and I left my car in the parking lot, and we were home at her house, digging in for whatever blizzard was coming and watching that live on the news right along with you. And the thing was, is the people were so cold, they couldn't grab the life preservers that they were throwing out there. And I remember watching people on the bridge because the cars stopped. The planes went right over the bridge and almost took off some of the cars as it went over and landed into the water. So the
Mhm.
people stopped traffic, got out of the cars to see what was going on. And I remember seeing this one guy taking off his suit jacket, shoes and all, jumping in the water to save one lady whose arms had been broken, and she was trying, and every time she grabbed for it, she couldn't, and he saved her. I think he saved her, but wound up dying because, the cold water, you just don't realize how
Yeah,
fast that water,
like you said, hypothermia or shock. You go into shock from water
so
that
bad,
cold.
so
It just
fast.
your body just shuts down.
I have never put my hand in ice to fill a glass with water. I would, to fill a glass with ice with my
Mhm.
hand without thinking about the Titanic.
Yeah,
That's how much it affected me, throughout my life. And then again, my son, to think of him, it's possible, that because he's so drawn to everything, to it at such a young age. And you
yeah.
know what, if you're reincarnated, that between 3 and 5 is your big time to let go on a lot of that info before
Mhm.
it starts leaving you, and it's absolutely possible. And someone in the chat here said they're actually building a new one now, that they're going to a replica, and I've heard about that.
Supposed to
I don't know
complete
if
the
I
voyage.
I'd do it or not. I don't know. It's
I'd,
almost
I'd,
tempting
It'd
fate.
be tempting, but could lightning strike twice? Absolutely.
I don't think I could be with the overwhelming thought of the whole thing, because it seems like anything with Titanic has got something attached to it.
There's some
And
kind of a curse there. Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, there's another one. The strangest thing is this guy spends all this time. It's kind of like your story with almost like a tulpa kind of thing, with the Shadow Knows, the guy who wrote so much that he actually created this existence of the
Yeah.
character.
William Gibson.
And it sounded like almost like that to me. But this man spent quite a while, you're talking a span of years, to make an exact replica of the Titanic, himself, by hand. And it was so good and so accurate. And as he was taking pictures of it, every time he looked through the lens, he could see people walking
Oh, wow.
on the promenade, or in the window, and he'd like, what is this? And he, and only through the lens of the camera he could see them, and nobody else did. So I don't know if it was one of those things like you're drawing in like a tulpa, like we talked about, and he's manifesting this stuff, or if it really just, thanks for remembering us,
You
just
shouldn't wonder about that.
Yeah,
If it
kind of like the
sells the
dancing
same,
frog.
if it sells the same route,
Yeah.
will it pick up ghosts along the way of people that
I
are
don't
still
know.
out there wondering what happened?
I wouldn't do it. I mean, I just have such a respect for people who've been through stuff like that. I won't go investigate and I really don't go investigate anyway. Usually they find me and I get called for some whatever reason. I'm there just to figure it out, not so much you know what I mean? It's different. But I won't go to like an asylum or hospital or something like that. I can't. It's just too much energy. And I think that's with the Titanic too. And think about it. We're here talking about it tonight.
Yeah, that was what, 1912, 1910?
Yeah. It was
Somewhere back
1912. It was April 14th, 1912. It sure was. And,
110
it's
years ago next year.
when you talk about it, you connect in. Yeah. And so it's not just the people that were on the ship that night. It's everybody else connecting into it, very much like we talk about certain things that, our elders have told us not to speak of because they hear you. That might be true for this too. And I don't know, so many things happen in the exhibit. Of course, you get, people hear giggles and, they get tapped on the shoulder, their hair pulled, their clothes tugged at. They hear voices all the time, whispers that they can't quite, just under the radar, where you can't quite tell what they're saying. And all through any exhibit that whether it's the one in the large one in Las Vegas or the ones that are all around at the traveling one, people hear that stuff all the time. Definitely the young man who killed himself, Frederick Fleet, they see him, but only in the one in Las Vegas. And I think it's probably because the front of the ship there where he would have been standing is just so real. They say it's set up with the stars, the way they would have looked that night, the cold wind and all that stuff. And I think it's just he's drawn to that area. And why somebody hasn't gone in there and talked him over, I don't know. But another one that pops up all the time is the captain of the ship. And that's Captain Edward Smith. But the oddest places he's popping up. Apparently, there was a man in 1977 who was given a tour on a ship. And I couldn't catch the name of the ship. But he went to his deathbed saying that one day, it was a slow, like a slow Monday, a guy came up and wanted to take the tour. And he was so obsessed with details, and the guy honestly knew more about the ship than he did. If the guy got it wrong, he corrected him. And a couple of years later, he goes to this exhibit and sees the picture, and he goes, that's the man that I gave the tour to that day that acted so oddly and spoke so different, and it was Smith. So whether that happened, I don't know. But he is also said to haunt his childhood home. And the new residents, as of, I think it was in the 90s, said they still see him. That water will turn on and off, and of course the TV and electronics and stuff like that. But then every once in a while, they'll see him walk by full uniform and hat, and turn and look at him. So he's an intelligent haunting. He knows they're there, and he's just, I guess, got enough to manifest fully. And also his a relative of his that got one of his old mirrors, and you know how we feel about mirrors.
Yeah.
But she says she'll be in the, combing her hair or brushing her hair in the mirror in her bedroom, and she'll see him standing behind her and smiling and acknowledging her. And sometimes she'll be in another part of the room and she'll look in the mirror and you can see him in there. So do I think that Captain Smith lives in the mirror? No. But for some reason, these artifacts, these possessions hold some kind of energy attraction to them to where they can do something like that. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, especially people's personal possessions and things like that. Now, the one in Vegas, they had like porcelain dishes and silverware and things like that, just out of the ship's galley. But then they had stuff that had belonged to people too, like cufflinks and I don't know. There was,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think you mentioned that there's a hairbrush set, a brush and mirror set that survived. I think it's made out of ivory or something like that was how it was able to endure. But I think there's got to be stuff attached to that. They're almost, if it can be attached to anything, it would certainly be attached to that.
Absolutely. Let's see, the Unseen Paranormal Podcast. I wonder when they have been down in the wreck if they have experienced anything paranormal. Actually, I was listening to a couple of shows and reading some stories up on that, and apparently they have. There have been. It's so deep down. So I don't know how many actual divers have been down there. I think everything has been via drone and, gone down and picking up artifacts. I don't know how they do that. I know it has to be done slowly because everything is just so brittle. But yes, they've heard cries, whispers, and talking around the wreckage, more than one source. Also, something I thought that was just so different and just really creepy to me. It seems that over the wreckage, other passing ships will see dancing orbs above the wreckage. And as they pass by, their radio signals will go out or start picking up SOS signals and maydays and things like that from unknown sources that don't answer back.
Wow.
And it goes away when they get further and further away from where the wreckage is. So that to me is something. You see a bunch of dancing orbs above the wreckage. I mean, that's just got to be something to see. I don't, that's just, it's so sad. So sad to think that they'd still be trapped there. We're just going to have to get a big old boat full of mediums and paranormal people and sensitives and go there and see if you can't get those people to cross over. That just breaks my heart.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so long.
I don't know in total how many objects they brought up. I know Las Vegas claims to have 300. The museum in Pigeon Forge claims to have 400.
Time holder.
So that's at least 700. He says he's had a steak bowl when he heard something outside. And I think I read something once about they brought some wine up that was still sealed in the bottles and wine or champagne or something that it was still good. I think they auctioned it off.
Yeah.
But
and that's just it. Everything's auctioned off. Everything is money. Everything is this. And one of the things I know you and I have talked about certain curses and things like that. Like there's, some famous ones on certain island in Hawaii where you shouldn't take anything with you. They tell you don't take anything from this and take it home. And then people do it anyway. And within a couple of weeks or a month, everybody's sending back, please take this back. I want it to stop. Yeah. Well, that has happened with the Titanic because they were able to, believe it or not, coal. And so much coal down there. And they pulled it up and they're able to sell a small little thing for, not a lot of money. So
I don't know if I would want it or not.
People buy it. And out of all of the coal that was sold, they said something about 80% of it comes back with a letter or a note or just take it back. Just a thing in a box says, take this back. I don't want it anymore.
Yeah,
but some of the stories that come from there was a lady who went to the exhibit with her daughter and they wanted to take, again, a piece of it home with them. And they bought the coal. They each got a piece. And her daughter, when she went home, they had tea or whatever when they got back, and she forgot it and left it. So she took both pieces of coal and put them right by her, a bedside window or whatever on the windowsill. And she went to sleep. She was going to see her daughter like the next day, and she was going to give her the coal. And that night, at around somewhere between 2 and 3 in the morning, of course, there's what she hears is scratching. Creepy right out the gate, right? You hear scratching, you don't know where it's coming from.
Mm.
She's like, it wakes her up, and she just gets this overwhelming feeling of doom and fear. And, it's almost like when we get it, she's thinking, what am I afraid of? It doesn't feel like this is me.
Yeah.
Well, she looks toward the window, and she can see this like greenish, faint glow. And as she looks deeper, she can see within this glow is a large, burly man. That's her words. And he looked like he was dressed in almost like coveralls, or, dirty workman's coveralls, she said. And she of course is scared to death, and she looks up at him, and he connects eyes with her, and he mouths, "Help me."
Wow.
Help me. And he's like on the window. It sounded like a vampire to me. Of course, she screams and she runs out of the room. And it happened again. The daughter didn't come the next day to get the coal and meet with her. She had canceled for some reason. She said she had a hard time sleeping all night.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know why. And after the second night, it happened again. And the third night, it happened again. She said, that's it. She took that coal from the windowsill. She put it in the bag. She rolled it up, put it outside her door, and it didn't happen anymore. So that would tell you it was probably the coal. And It was probably an engineer or something that worked down there and was attached to that coal.
Like, hey, we need that coal. Maybe he thinks they need that to get where they're ultimately going to end up. But, you have that in so many different paranormal locations. Unseen Paranormal podcast mentioned the Bell Witch Cave, like that there in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. I've gone and toured that before. Chris Kirby, the lady that her and her husband owns it, he won't have anything to do with it, but she gives the tour. She has a whole. It was like a photo album at that time. She may have it set up different now. Mm-hmm. It's been several years ago, but people sent letters back. I'm sorry I took this from the cave. Yep. It was from such and such corner. Please put it back. I've had nothing but good luck or bad luck since. Said sometimes when it was closed, people would throw stuff over the gate with a note attached to it.
Wow.
And Robert the Doll in Key West, you don't take his picture. They've got a whole wall of pictures that people have sent back, and tell Robert, I'm sorry I took his picture. Lots of places, even the Petrified Forest National Park in Arizona. There's people that have taken pieces of that the park ranger said they get it back in the mail all the time. I'm sorry, put it back.
Yep.
So there's something there that, there's some kind of juju or something going on. There's stuff you don't want to mess with. You don't want to bring home with you.
Absolutely. To think that engineer, or, it could have been a coal shoveler, could have been anything, because he had dirty coveralls. I don't know how they were dressed, but it did seem that once she turned that back, the exhibit was there so she could take it and turn it in by hand. And they said, you're not the first person to have returned coal and say that you've seen people dressed like this, not particularly that man. So it seems like more than one is attached to this coal. That is just insane to me. I could almost see a mirror. I could almost see clothes, or even a boot or a shoe or a doll, or, I don't know why coal. It just seems so odd. But there it is. I mean, a paranormal can just it can take a hard left anytime at once,
I'm looking on Etsy. You can get a certified piece of it in a little kind of medallion case for $24.95. So I would be willing to buy one and gift it to somebody if you'll report on what kind of paranormal experience
show of hands
you have in your house.
There you go, people.
I don't want it here, but if any of you are brave enough, I'll buy one and send it to you. And you can keep us updated on
show of hands, not me.
The Phantom
I got
Engineer.
enough. I got enough, Steve. But anybody that wants to take Steve up on that, you can just get in here and tell him quick, because going once, going twice. I'm good. No, LOL, thanks. Oh, Oh, Sue said she'll do it. She's brave. But yeah, also with that, anybody, I don't think he's kidding. So if you want to take it and do an investigation on your own,
I'm serious. Yeah,
yeah.
just Sue,
I,
send me your email or just message me. Do this here.
there you go.
Let me give you my email address, and we'll work out the details, and we'll do
There you go. Kiwi Patriot just said here. Let me pop that up
random
here.
updates.
Hey, Kiwi. Hi, love. So good to have you in. Coal is the same almost composition as a diamond in relation to carbon. The structure is very interesting. Yeah, that's it too, because it's just weird to me. I think, maybe because it's natural, just like if you think about quartz and limestone and things like that, it may have something to do with, of course, crystals, all different kinds of crystals and gemstones and things like that. But man, what is she saying here?
I'm about that life, Steve, for science.
For
And
science.
what I'll do, I'll order it. I'll keep it here for a few days and see what I have. And I may be quite ready for it to leave when it heads to you. And then I'll send it to you, and we'll let you keep
For
it
the
for a while,
science.
report on it, and then maybe you can pass it on to somebody else.
Hard no over here.
We'll just
because
keep passing it around and see what different experiences are. I mean, that's the way you test things like that, right? You get two or more different experiences and then compare and contrast them.
But you know me, Steve. Me and that poor guy be up all night. I'm going to open the window.
You'd
I'm going to
have
let
him
him
crossed
in.
over, and then nobody's coal would be
Nobody's going to
haunted
know
anymore.
anything. What'd you send him to me for if you didn't want him crossed over? Like that line from The Devil in the Blue Dress. What'd you leave him with me for if you didn't want me to kill him? I mean, that's kind of the way, because we can feel their sadness and their longing and their fear and their not understanding what's going on, and it's just so overwhelming. It's like dealing with a little kid who just lost his mom in the mall. I mean, there's just so much anxiety, and it's just, it's so, you got to do something about it. Okay, they're sending you emails now.
Yeah,
you might have to buy one more piece of coal. You better get your big piece and chop it up.
Chain mail system, like forward this piece of coal to 10 people, or you'll have bad luck.
That might be a heck of an experiment. I mean, you
that's
talk
what
about
I'm
your trigger objects, because if you did that and then you played the violin song of Near My God to Thee, that they actually played on the way down. You hear it up and down and up and down. Did they actually play as it went down? Yes, they did. And that's why they were called heroes.
Try it in different environments. I wonder what happened if you put it in a glass of ice water or something. Would that cause a different reaction? I'm thinking of this as almost like a mail art project. I used to do mail art back in the 80s, where there would be a central theme and everybody would do something and then send it to the one central person, and they'd have an exhibit somewhere. I used to do it in Oak Ridge because I could rent out a big room in the Civic Center since I lived there for like $15. So I'd put on these big art parties and have people mail art. I'd exhibit it, and I'd have like a couple $1 packs of cookies and a couple of diet sodas and some Dixie cups and have an art show. But that was the thing, you couldn't make any money at it. It had to be just free gratis. But I like to stir things up sometimes. But I like this. Let's do it, and we'll make it like some kind of series on YouTube or something. We'll get some of these.
I would definitely have a recorder going. I would have at least one camera going, possibly play Near My God to Thee. If you get them and they're willing to communicate, we'll get some people even over the phone to try to talk to them. Put them on the phone.
If people if spirits start showing up, we'll send them all to Cisco, and she can send them
one at a time, please. There's a lot of them. There's 1,500, but by gosh, if we can get 75% of them to cross over,
if we can get one over into the light, it'd be worth it.
Amen. That's just, why not? I mean, if you're gonna go, good night, Kiwi. Kiwi's got to go back to work. Everybody say, have a good day at work, Kiwi. We love you.
Good night, Kiwi.
One of the best researchers I know. I'll tell you what. But so that's it. Yeah, go Cisco. Yeah, believe me, it takes a lot out of you. People don't realize that, and I'm fine with it. Steve's fine with it too. He's gone into some dark places as well. But the thing is, and I'm, like I said, I'm nobody. I have very little abilities, but I think one of my abilities is to be able to communicate with intent, and they can read my intent. I mean, if you can walk on the battlefield in Gettysburg on Halloween night at midnight and just go, okay, go away. I got some people to talk to here, and get that many, maybe 7, 8 listen to you, and actually have a fulfilling uh, from start to finish, and know that they went off into the light. That's amazing. And I take none of that credit. I just think I have some really good spirit guides helping me. I think my people get with their people, and it works.
I'm finding some cool stuff here. Some of it's replicas, like there's
Oh,
Third
what you got?
Officer Bert
I'll make you a little bigger here.
Pittman's whistle.
Do what now?
Third Officer Bert Pittman's whistle. There's
Okay.
a replica of it, and it has a bunch of has like a looks like a ticket stub and a baggage thing. So let me see if I can hold this up here. I probably should have
Okay.
just shared my screen, but
Let's see there.
this is on my phone. Hang on a
Oh,
second.
that's
Now,
worse.
let me get over here.
Oh, okay. I see it. It's a whistle.
There's a whistle and
We'll get a bigger picture for you. Oh, I see it. I see it there. I see it. Yep.
I'd probably just be better off to send a link. There you go.
There you go.
There's a whistle, a baggage claim, a ticket stub, and a postcard. Now, this is all replica stuff. But, if you get enough replica stuff, like I said, you have music, have Near My God to Thee playing, and
Right.
sprinkle some ice water around, and you could create an event there possibly to make it conducive for something to come through.
This was a good question.
The coal that's on there is real. It's just a sliver of it, and it's done like in a little coin thing. But I'm onto something here.
Yeah, you are. And I think it'll be a great experiment. Like I said, as long as no ghosts are harmed during the experiment, I'm fine with, or animals, and I'm good with it.
Yeah.
But here's a good question from Ruck Rabbit here. So the question is the reaction from the coal having energy, or is it from your expectations of it having an effect? Either way is interesting. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
I can see both. Yeah,
I can too.
What you're projecting is being able to manifest through whatever the structure in the coal is, like these places are.
You're connecting
quartz
into
and
it.
Limestone and things like that have shown to be conducive. There's stone tape theory, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, look at all the energy that's in a quartz crystal. You can make a radio out of it. You can receive radio waves. What other kind of waves can you receive that we're just not aware of how to do? You can put a quartz crystal in a watch and keep perfect time. There's power in those crystals.
Absolutely. Look at the crystal skulls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm of the mind that I think they're almost like computers. They're filled with information, and have downloaded an awful lot of information. Now retrieving that is a whole nother story. But that's just my theory. That's just my guess. I don't know. That's just my opinion on that. But to me, something with that kind of crystal, I mean, it's got to be something. You know what I mean? There's more to it than that, But that coal really got me, and I think it's also because of it also reminds me of that creepy scene in Salem's Lot where the thing is scratching on
Ralphie's knocking on the window.
On the window, let me in.
That's one of the scariest scenes of all times, and for a TV movie, it's exceptionally frightening. I mean, I've seen stuff in the theaters that wasn't that scary.
That's true. It's very hard to find a good ghost movie that really clicks it. I keep looking for them. I'm not into the slasher stuff. To me, that's just humans doing humans, bad things to humans, but ghosts, I mean, that one gets me. I think the others was well done. It was making me a little crazy at first, and then I started to get it.
The Entity, have you ever seen The Entity? That's based on a true story.
One of the best.
I've driven by that house out in Culver City, California, where that happened at. I took a picture of it, but I don't know who lives there now. I wouldn't go knock on the door or anything, but that was frightening.
That was absolutely frightening. The book, I read the book before it came out, and I highly recommend it. Barbara Hershey did an outstanding job, but I will tell you that the woman went through more than that. If you can imagine, if you've got little kids right now, please just cover their ears or hang them upside down or do whatever you need to do, or just, but to be a mother of sons and to be raped by two unseen entities in front of them, and they can do nothing to help you. Yeah. I can't imagine the trauma of the children as well as the woman. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to break you down. That's what they always do, and if they could do the whole family at once, that's just even better, because to break souls and to break mind and body, but that woman went through absolute hell, and the university helped her
Yeah.
Um,
We ever
they
seen
really
that
did.
footage, that video footage? I think it was Barry Taft and
Yes.
some other people went out there and they were
Mhm.
investigating. One guy was up in the attic uh, messing around and they were just snapping pictures at random and something, a wire, something looped around his neck and
Yep.
it's over a nail and it's literally like trying to pull him up by the neck. And just, yeah, that's, so
Yeah.
I'm driven by the
That's the
house, but
thing.
I wouldn't want to go in if I could, I don't think.
Right. In the entity, one was one of the things. I'm going to say that it was probably extra dimensional. I don't know if it's a demon or it could have been. I don't know. If they were probably low level. But there was one big one and one small one, like a minion, and the different claw marks and things that she had on her were two different size hands. One was a very big guy and the other one was very small, but just evil. And it went on for years. And that guy, still to this day, that picture of him hanging and it's choking him with that rope and they're trying to get him down this attic hole, and that was crazy. They have all kinds of different pictures and things at the attic, like they'd leave a camera up there and the camera would go flying across the attic and stuff like that. But I think it was more than one thing. I don't know if this was one of those things where she was the one haunted or it was the land. I don't think it had anything to do with the house. It was so methodical the way it was. So that's definitely one. But there's another one that I talk about all the time. You have to go back to 1938, I think it was, and it's called The Time of Their Lives, and it's Abbott and Costello, when they actually did it was funny, but it was serious. And if you know anything about this subject at all, and you watch that movie, you are absolutely blown away at how right they got it. From
Yeah.
the medium to the grounds to the way ghosts can be at their death. They were cursed. And they were held in that area until they were proven innocent. And I mean, it was just the whole thing. It was just amazing. It had just about everything in it. It's so well done in 1938. Of course, Sixth Sense was really good. That was very different. And, I know young people that go through exactly that and just have people are caught in what I call their death state, just popping up and showing themselves because they see that light. I was just talking to somebody last week who has that and didn't have any idea that they had any abilities whatsoever. She was a city coroner for 25 years. And now she's got all the people in her house and doesn't know how to get rid of them.
And imagine in 25 years, she's probably dealt with a lot of dead bodies under some not very nice circumstances that they got that way.
And every one of
And
them is
now they're
different.
all just hanging out like, well, now what?
Yep. And every single one of them's different. She said, well,
Right.
she actually said to me, God bless her. I got to talk to her briefly. And I said, look, I'm going to set you up with some people. We're going to get somebody that's near to there. We can do some on the phone. We could, just the whole sweep, but it's like a carpet bombing of stuff that's going to have to go on. She's so many. And she says, my friend told me that if I sage, then that'll do it. And, so I said, well, explain to me how you saging. And she said, well, I kind of lit it in my bedroom and I put on some music and I left, and I'm like, okay, well, all right. It's going to be a long phone call. So here we go. But again, I explained to her, I said, you can try to do that, but it's best to have somebody come in there that can talk to them and see why they're there. And I said the short term might be just showing them somebody who's got a brighter light, and then they can take them out away from you and then deal with them one at a time as they can, to try to get them sorted out, because it's right now it's like a basket of yarn. A pack of kittens have been playing and it's all tangled up and crazy and all melted together. But Sue says here, the idea that an entity could crawl into bed with you in your safe space just gives me the chills. I got one to jump off on that, if you don't mind, Steve, because this creeps me out to this day. There is a lady I know very well, and I very rarely give out names because unless they've given me permission to give their name, I'm not going to do it. It's just a personal thing. But she lives in a house where she's dealing with a lot of this too. And with her, it was in the house when she got there and she activated it with her energy. That's what we believe is going on. But she does have one in there very much like the entity. But it's just evil. It's trying to break her down. So one night she's in her in bed and she's reading a book, and she feels it coming. And you never know what's going to happen. Now, to me, this build-up stuff, this not knowing what's going to happen, is like the worst, right? Here it comes. She sees it. The cover's being pushed like somebody's crawling, a hand, a knee. So she could almost see like it's a full-size man coming her way.
Mhm.
It gets right up next to her, and the next thing she feels is the breath, and she can smell it, and it sticks its tongue in her ear and just gives her like this wet willy,
Oh my God.
and then just kind of laughs and it's gone.
I'd be done.
I'm like, what? You know, and how fast did it take you to pack your stuff and get out of there, girl? But she's like, no, this is my house and I'm going to stay and I'm going to fight it. And I'm like, okay, there you go. It's not bad enough. Go ahead and challenge it now. I'm waiting for your phone call. You know, it's like, oh my God, can you imagine? Oh, I've seen some things, but I've never had a invisible demon give me a wet willy, and I never want to ever have that. So thank you very much.
I'll pass on that one.
I pass. Hard pass. Hard no.
Swipe left.
We're giving Sue nightmares. Oh gosh, it's
Well,
but
now,
that's
Stu, maybe when you get that piece of coal, the coal shoveler will crawl in bed with
maybe
you.
put it under your pillow.
Whisper in your ear there.
Put it under your pillow. Oh my gosh. This one's here too. Being groped in your own bathroom while no one else is home is rather disturbing as well. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Any of that. I've heard too, I know we're kind of getting off the Titanic, but it does have to do with water. But I've heard a lot of people are visited in the shower, and I don't know if it's because you're calmer or your state of mind or your whatever that might be, or if it's the running water that gives them the energy. I don't know, Steve. What do you think about that?
I think it's a combination there. I think it's you kind of zone out because I know when I get in the shower, everything else just kind of ceases to exist. So you let your guard down, even though anytime you're in the bathroom doing anything, that's really when you're at your most vulnerable. But I've done that before. I've been in the shower and have to peek out the curtains, because it just feels like something out there.
Absolutely.
And again, I don't know if I've watched too many horror movies, but I've learned to trust those instincts sometimes because I have had things happen. One house that I lived in out here in Portland, it was big old Victorian built, probably late 1800s, early 1900s, and it had been cut up into 4 apartments. And in my bathroom, I had an upstairs corner apartment. There was words started coming up under the paint in the bathroom, and I showed it to my daughter, and she freaked out. She's like, "There's no way we would have noticed that if it were here when we moved in." But the paint was like bubbling up, and it was talking about hell and pain and sorrow and all this. It sounded very demonic, and I went and talked to a preacher about it, and he said, "Yeah, that sounds very demonic." And then I had another guy come over to the house who had like a deliverance ministry, and he supposedly ran whatever it was out of there. But the stuff was still in the words were still in the paint, very clear. I don't even know how to describe it other than if you were on the other side of the paint and scratching words in it backwards.
Oh my goodness, Steve.
So, but I didn't live there too much longer. But every house I've ever lived in had something in it to some degree. I don't know so much if it's not me. I think I'm haunted, and it just follows me around.
Oh, it does. It does. I mean, it's just and it's your light. It's just like anybody else. It's just like I try to explain it, and I certainly don't have all the answers. Steve and I have been in this combined of probably close to 100 years.
Getting close.
Getting real close, because I know I've been in it like 47, 50, really looking and
52
digging.
For me this year. I had my first
100 years
real experience when I was
combined.
6 years old. I saw a full body apparition, and I'd had some experiences before that. So, oh, okay. I thought that was directed toward me. Somebody saying about a beverage. It's zero cherry.
Oh, the cherry cola.
Cherry cola. I thought somebody was
good.
asking. I've heard people say, Steve's drinking a beer, but no. I don't drink. But I think that, just average, ordinary hauntings, that can happen. Stuff that's drawn to you, complete stuff that sees you and sees your light. But then likewise, anything demonic, anything evil, they see
Mhm.
that too, and it pisses
Yep.
them off. They
Yes, it
don't
does.
like that you have that light, that you
Yes.
can help things that they like to torture. They like to hang out and do things to people and play mean pranks, if you will, on them or whatever. And they know that you have the ability and that discernment to tell the difference. And
Hmm.
this is somebody that needs to help going on, or this
Hmm.
is something that's whatever you want to call it, Nephilim or fallen angel or demon or
Hmm.
whatever that is there just to steal, kill, and destroy. And I think that pisses them off too, because they know.
Right.
Remember, and I'm not comparing myself to Jesus or anything, but remember in the Bible where Christ would walk by somebody that was possessed by demons,
Hmm.
and the demons would cry out to the person, why do you persecute us? Why do you bother us?
Right.
So, and Jesus wasn't saying anything to him; he was just passing by him. But
Just,
they saw
but
that
that
and just
light.
that light, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that type of thing that,
Well, that's it. The light, weakens the darkness, can put it out, and it's the same thing with the energy and the light that you carry and your divine spark, your connection to source, your soul, your energy connection. So, and that's it. It absolutely, some things are as simply complicated,
mhm,
and I don't know how to explain that. It's just everything is connected. Now, whether this lady and the entity called on this, the people on the Titanic, 1,500 people that perished in that, couldn't possibly have deserved what happened,
yeah,
or called it on. But there were so many stories of, there was one man who survived a shipwreck, years before, and was constantly afraid of ever being out, lived in a port town, so it was all about shipping and boats and everything else back then, where he was. And he would never get on another boat. And he finally got up enough courage to give it one more try and bought a ticket to the Titanic.
yeah,
And of course, this time he didn't make it. So you got to wonder with something like that, was that, like you and I talk about all the time, if you think about, if you believe that when your soul's over there, or wherever over there is, the afterlife, the other whatever, if you are in the position to choose to reincarnate and come back and learn again, or to come in and teach others lessons, or whatever your life thing is, I've also heard that you usually get three ways out, three exit
mhm,
marks. And usually people that survive a car wreck or whatever, usually there's like several, and that second one usually gets you, because it puts you on your butt and makes you change everything and makes you look at everything, because usually you get three, and the third one, that's it, three strikes, you're out. So
yeah,
that's what I've heard from people that are wiser than I'll ever be. So that makes a lot of sense, that maybe if that's true, maybe he was supposed to go in the first one.
mhm,
And that's why he was so tormented all the way through the years and just couldn't avoid going back. Me, I'd have never got on another daggum boat. I'd have been so far from water, you
yeah,
wouldn't have been able to get me near a boat. But he just kept feeling the draw to do it again, and boom, that he didn't make it that night. Lots of there was a lot of honeymooners on the Titanic. It was a big deal to get married and get on the ship and go to New York and start a new life together, or
mhm,
with family that was already there. And it seemed like the crew was letting a lot of those honeymooners get on the ship together. Three of them got together and made it as a couple, and most of them separated there that night on the bow, and put the gentleman put his wife in the boat, and that was it, and hoped that they'd make it. That they kept thinking somebody was coming to save them, and I don't
mhm,
know whether they were getting pings from Carpathia, who was close by. But if you listen to the crew of the Carpathia, they said there was several boats within a sighting distance that they saw passing the Titanic that didn't stop, that could have.
yeah,
And that's never been explained to me. But Carpathia went and pulled the ones that they could out of the water, and saved quite a few. So that's amazing to me. And Laura, Steve is actually a happy thoughts and energy to Laura, so she can make it out of the shower without
yeah.
getting a tongue stuck in her ear. That would
Nice
be
trick
awesome.
there, texting from the shower, Laura. I'm assuming you have a waterproof
I
phone.
I almost always had a clear shower curtain just for that reason. I can't stay.
I used to have one called the shower curtain for when you don't want visitors, It
Uh-huh.
was Norman Bates in his mother
Oh
outfit with
my.
a knife. It was just a silhouette of that. So
Oh gosh. You know they used Hershey syrup in that one.
yeah,
Hershey
yeah,
syrup because it's black and
shot it
white.
in black and white. Yeah, and
Hmm.
there's
That's crazy.
a movie about the shooting of that one scene. It's called it's like 156 cuts or something like that. But
Oh
it's
God.
talking about the cuts that he made in the film to because you never actually see anything, you just think you do.
Uh-huh.
With the mind's
Sure.
filling in the gaps there. But
That's
that's
absolutely
how
true.
many different setups Hitchcock had to do. I think it's like 152 or something like that to get that scene.
Oh,
152 edits.
Sue is saying, Steve, she's answering your question from earlier about it completely follows you around. I have my own following me, and Kiwi keeps them at bay. Kiwi's got a lot of good juju. I'm telling you that right now. And that's why he's my control group for the coal experiment. She's going to do it, folks. I mean, you heard it right here. It's amazing. And Unseen Paranormal Podcast is saying, as an empath, I have come across a few nasty ones. Me too, Unseen. Me too. And I know Steve has as well. We've worked on a couple together. I don't know whether Steve wants to tell it here. And I honestly don't know if we've told it before, but it seems to keep coming up that I could not get Steve out of my we've been good friends for a long time, and instantly Steve was like a brother to me. I mean, we could not talk for a month or two, and we kind of know what each other's up to, whether we're talking or not. I can tell. And I kept in, not really in a dream, but as I was starting to go to sleep, I kept getting Steve's name would come up in my head, and I'd see him, and it's portraying me like he was circling. Like he was circling the drain. And each time he went around, he got a little lower to whatever this abyss was. And I remember calling you up one morning. I finally got a hold of you, and I said something about how about those English muffins or something. I can't remember what it was. You had one in your hand, or
Yeah, I was sitting there looking at a pack of them, and we were
and
talking about those. And then your husband came home with a bag of English muffins. He's like, I don't know why I got these. He said, I just felt
exactly.
compelled to pick these up.
That's right. He was, and nobody eats English muffins here. I mean, really, you know what I mean? We just don't have time for the morning thing, but it's usually out the door. But that was so unusual. And
Yeah, it's
I
Jersey.
think,
You eat a bagel, if anything.
I think what that was, I call them, I know this is going to sound funny, but I call them jigglers. And I'm going to come up with the weirdest name for these things like jumpers and all this weird stuff. But I have had that throughout my whole life where I just say something, and the person, it's so profound to the person at the time that if they're in some kind of funk, it kind of snaps you out of it for a second. And I think that's why it happened, because that thing had a hold of you good, and you were fighting it for all you were worth, but didn't really know what you were fighting. And it was that thing that was at your work that
Yeah, whatever it
I
was.
think caused so many sicknesses and
Yeah, it
strokes.
was.
And
And there was a guy there that had died, had killed himself in the bathroom,
Mhm.
hung himself when it was a financial office. And a lot of times I would be the very last one out of the building, and I would see somebody down the hallway go into the men's room. And
Mm.
I thought one day, I'm going to wait and see who this person is, because they were dressed like not the way that we dress. We wore casual clothes, but this guy had on like slacks and leather shoes.
Mhm.
And I hung around one day, like almost a half an hour, I think. Guy never came out of the bathroom. I went in, and there was no other way out of the bathroom. He just wasn't there. But I'd see him a lot of times at night when we were leaving. I was in the last crew that left the building. Like I said, I was usually the very last person out of the building. And but yeah, there was all kinds of weird things going there. There was I don't know if you call it a manifestation or what, but it was affecting their health. So I was having health issues. A lady that was on my development team, she went in the ladies' room, which was through the wall on the other side of the men's room, and she had some kind of nervous breakdown. They had to carry her out of the bathroom and cart her away on a stretcher.
Mm.
And she later on said she didn't know what happened. She said, I was just in one minute I was in the bathroom. She said, the next minute I'm just like on the floor screaming. She didn't know what happened to her.
Mhm.
But there was definitely something evil there. In fact, you told me to leave whatever I had there. I had a little carving that my daughter had gave me, a little Buddha made out of mahogany.
Mhm.
and you're just like, there's something you're thinking about going back and getting. So you're like, don't you dare go back there for any
Right.
reason.
And that was the thing, because I kept, like I said, I'd see you circling. And then after I talked to you a little bit, it was like and in your in how I was seeing it was just almost like a shadow figure of a man, but you had your head down and you were just like circling head down. And I was getting from my guides, he's trying to fight this. He doesn't really realize he's fighting. He thinks he's fighting like you're sick, like you were fighting a sinus infection wouldn't go away, or a cold that wouldn't quite give up, or something along those lines. But it wasn't. It was that thing that was making you sick. And you'd get away from it for a little bit, and you were having some kind of problems there. They were having some kind of a civil unrest in the streets or something. So you had to take a longer bus route. The bus wouldn't drop you, and you had to walk.
Like 2 hours
each
way just to get to work. And then I like to get there an hour early. And so, my work day was running up being like 15 hours long. And, of course, little Mulder was home by himself all that time. And just, a lot of upset all the way around.
It was, but it would seem like it just was breaking. And this is typical, breaking, which goes. And the reason I tell this story is no matter how much you feel, about this subject, and no matter how much you all your life you've had experiences and you think you're getting a hold of it, boy, something will come around and just knock you in a hard left that you didn't see coming. Because if you have abilities, this is something that a lot of people might not know. If you have abilities, intuition, psychic abilities, mediumship, we can't do it for ourselves. And that's the weirdest thing. We can get intuition, we can get things like that, but as far as reading or we don't have any extra special stuff to help us. We actually have to help each other. Now he might get it on me, and I might get it on him or somebody else or whatever, back and forth, and we help each other. But I think that's because there's too much emotional blockage for that to come through clearly for ourselves. And it makes perfect sense. But man, when I told you, listen, you were like, no, I got to go back. I've been gone and I need to go back and get my stuff. And I've pretty much decided I'm ending that. I've got something else I'm going to do, but I got to go back. I said, you're going back for this one little brown thing. And if you do, it's put itself in it. And it's going to go home with you. And you didn't go back and get it. Thanks for listening, buddy.
Yeah. And all that died down, never bothered me anymore. And everything that had been going on just cleared up. And then shortly after that was when I started writing full time and being able to make a living from my books, and then fell into the YouTube thing, and now make the best living I've ever made, and do it all from home. I am
and enjoying yourself.
Blessed, yes,
yeah.
Indeed.
And that just goes to show you, sometimes God gives you a hard left, but they turn into right turns, baby.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to slow down and listen and say, okay, maybe what I think is the best is not the best necessarily, and concentrate on what you love, and just you can manifest good things or you can manifest bad things. It's just even if the bad's not your intention, you can bring it to yourself. I mean, how many people have you heard say, that's just my luck, or what's going to happen next, or
that they're manifesting negative.
Get up. What'll happen to me today? That's you're setting yourself up for it.
You bet you are, because you're calling it. You're calling it.
You have the power of life and death in your tongue. I believe that, and you can
absolutely
speak negativity into your life and into existence.
Yes, and just the opposite. You speak positivity as well. And I wanted to catch this real quick because this has to do with our subject as well. Of course, the subject with me and Steve is always the uncanny and the weird and wonderful, and it's just everything. But Sue says here that it's no coincidence that those three men on the Titanic were the main challengers of the creation of the Federal Reserve. And that's what I was saying in the beginning. Thank you, Sue. That's what I was saying in the beginning. And she dropped a link here. And I believe that this is a link to a video about that, Sue, right here, I believe. Or let's see. I'm going to make sure that we got it. Yeah. Yep. It's a link there to that conspiracy on that. And like I said, in there, you're probably going to see about what I was talking about before, that we think that the ship that actually went down was the sister ship of the Titanic, the Olympia. Now, why they would do that, maybe it was because it was already damaged.
It's already damaged, and they let it sink or whatever, and then changed the other one, repainted the actual Titanic so that it said Olympia, so they could collect insurance on an already damaged ship instead of having two damaged ships or a sunk one and a damaged one, something like that.
Yeah.
I've heard it explained a lot more eloquently than I just put it, but
Yeah, but it's already
it was for
limping too.
insurance. It was money,
Yeah.
money truck, all the money. That'll
Mhm.
answer you 98% of the time.
100%. Yep. And I believe that there was something said too about, what is it? Morgan. Morgan Chase or whatever that is. JP Morgan was
Mhm.
supposed to be on there. His luggage was delivered, but he never went. Now that's also something. So, like, maybe, he was going in the last minute, got that word that no, 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 don't get on that, ship. We need you at the meeting. So I don't know if that's in there. Sue could probably tell us because I know she's really on that. But just so many different things like that, But the stuff that's the saddest is the people that had relatives on that ship that were never able to find the bodies of their loved ones. So many were buried at sea. So many were just never found. And they had that unknown one that really broke this. The rescuer's heart was a baby that they pulled out, and of course it was probably a 2-year-old little boy. And of course back then they were always dressed in all the extra frilly stuff and everything.
Mhm.
But at first they thought it was a little girl, but it was a little boy. And
Probably
they
like a
buried him.
Little Lord Fauntleroy
Yes, yeah,
outfit.
yeah. And they put the headstone out, unknown. Unknown
Yeah,
child of
that's
the
sad.
Titanic.
He was never claimed,
No,
and that's either you figure either the parents perished or whoever was taking him somewhere, a guardian or whatever,
so
went down
many.
too. And then there's another story I read about who a lady found out she was a relative of somebody that was on the Titanic. I can't remember what that story was, but they went through DNA and proved that. I
There it
wish I
is.
could remember the rest of the story, but anyway.
Yeah. And I know they tried to pull that up on a couple, and I think that whole thing, I believe the one that I watched, the documentary I watched, there was a hopeful older lady, of course, that at that time she was in her 70s, and she was the daughter of the daughter that was 12 when her mother perished at 35 on the Titanic. So she was looking for her grandmother so she could fulfill her mother's her past mother's wish to find her mother. And she wanted that grave done. So she came up and got with people to get enough money to do this. And while they were at it, there was two young men that were looking for their great grandfather, and they all got together. And what happened was they dug up one. They didn't have the what's the word, microbial DNA, the mother side. So,
Mitochondrial.
thank you. They didn't have that, so they had to dig up another body of somebody to match it. They went through all this stuff, and you know what happened? They went through all digging up all these different graves, taking a femur or something to work with, and reburying, and having saying a prayer over it and stuff. But the way it all worked out is they found the mother of one of the children that was unknown, and they were buried 4 headstones away. And they didn't find anything about the mother that they were, the grandmother they were looking for, the grandfather. But because of all the different jumping in, and of course these are just numbered graves, they didn't know. But somehow through all that, they wound up matching a mother with her child and put them together and gave them a name. They didn't find who they were looking for, but they found and put those two together. So you often wonder if that was spirit working on people that would listen.
Yeah.
Maybe that mother that wanted to get with her child again. I like to think of it that way because I've seen spirit work that way all the time.
Yeah, indeed. And on Ancestry.com, I was just seeing here, they've got a whole section on the records from the Titanic. You can go back and look through it and see if you had family members that were on there. The Titanic record collection on there says they have the fatality reports from Nova Scotia and the graves. They have the Carpathia, the passenger list, the passengers that they pulled out of the water, the crew records from the Titanic, the ones that were listed, deaths at sea, the outward passenger list, all kinds of good things. So if you think you might have had a family member on the Titanic, that'd be a good place to go. And I'm sure they charge for all that, but
yeah,
it's a nice resource for anybody doing research on the Titanic. That might be how, if we do encounter something, we can identify who it is or where they were from.
Yeah.
That is
Absolutely.
if Sue encounters the spirit.
Now, Sue, if you encounter the spirit, I need you to take notes. I need you to get recordings. I want to know who he is, what he wants, what he needs before he crosses over. Don't just sage him off and try to get him to go. Because if it is the same guy, this guy's been following that Cole around for quite a few years,
Yeah.
and it's time for him to cross and get with his loved ones. But tell him Cisco said so, and if he doesn't listen, tell him I said don't make me call your mother.
Capture him in a spirit bottle and send that to Cisco.
Oh no! Don't do that. Don't do that.
He'll be good and pissed off when she uncorks
I've got
it.
a bottle story that'll blow your socks off. We're gonna tell you what, that'll be our theme for next Monday Madness. I'll tell the story.
Witch jars and bottle spirits. How's that?
That sounds wonderful. Witch jars and bottle spirits. And at the end of that, I will tell you the story. It's a goodie. It's a little bit long, but it's worth the storytelling on this one, because when you get all of it together, and Sue can back me on this, some of the most powerful spells. I once was in the middle of two left-hand witches having a fight on Halloween.
I've heard this story. It's awesome.
And
you guys got to come back next week just to hear this story.
Yeah, it's a doozy. It's a doozy. It contains voodoo. It's got native. It's got native stuff in there. It's got everything you can imagine.
Voodoo, hoodoo, witchcraft, shamanism, black magic. It's covers the gamut.
That voodoo that I love, man.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you. You're gonna have a good time when your best friend finally opens up and tells you. I'm only like 5. What did she say? 5 removed from Madame Laveau.
There you go.
So she was she's a descendant of Madame Laveau, and
that's a strong lineage.
She knew that voodoo that she do so well. Let me tell you something. And I got in the middle.
And
I'll
tell my bonus story about being at Marie Laveau's grave in New Orleans, and meeting a couple of girls that took me and my friend out to a Cajun party, and probably lucky to have come back with our lives.
Yeah, I know I was, because that was absolutely
This was
amazing.
out on a little island in the middle of a swamp. We had to take a boat to get there. And I thought, that's it. They're going to take us out here and murder us, and we'll never be seen or heard from again. We'd gone down to New Orleans just to be doing.
Well, Sue's got some stories about New Orleans herself, and where she might, I know she's going to be all over this one.
But mine's not supernatural, but just a tale of kind of the stupid things that you do when you don't know any better.
There's a lot of things.
We ended up on an island out in the middle of the swamp with all these Cajun people. They had a huge fire. There was a lot of alcohol and food and Cajun music. And again, this probably lucky that they didn't feed us to the gators. But
you never know when you're walking into New Orleans, man. I'm here to tell you. I still think that they have the Mardi Gras just to get fresh bodies there.
Well, did you remember years ago when one of those big hurricanes was headed there? The witches got out there at whatever street they had their shops and stuff on, and they cast a spell. And sure enough, when the floods came in, it came right up to the edge of where that was, and it didn't flood their area. I remember watching them talk about that on the news. Just amazing. I'm telling you, if I ever go missing, I'm going to set the woods on fire if I'm still alive. They will find me.
There you go.
Because I'll create the biggest forest fire you've ever seen.
Yeah, I always wonder why people just don't climb a tree and get a good look around. I just don't understand what's going on. But I really think a lot of those are, like we said before, are just there's something, there's something either magical or extra dimensional or interdimensional or something going on there, because there's just too many coincidences and things that don't add up with a lot of these missing people, missing time. And I think there's portals and stuff like that. Like I said, that time I was up in Montesano Mountain, and that's the one I based my my book on, that Steve and I just love so much. We had such a good time with that. I would make Steve listen to this, and I come out with these voices, and Steve would just be cracking up. You roll that back, I gotta catch it again, because we just had so much fun with it. But Montesano Mountain in just outside of Huntsville, Alabama, there's some really I think it's got some special energy there. I think any mountain does, any woods, any nature does, but there was just something special there. So
Hey,
That's
there's
why I put it there.
Melissa Nicole joins us, and TJ all the way from New Zealand.
Oh, hi, TJ. Hi, Melissa
You
Nicole.
guys are a
Somebody
little late,
else.
but go ahead and smack that like button. We were just talking about
Oh, yeah.
what we're going to talk about next Monday.
Yeah,
You don't
great.
want to miss
And
the
if you
next
could
one.
sub, that would be great.
Yeah,
I
if you
mean, I
haven't
am
subbed
like
already.
150 away from a thousand subs.
Yeah,
So there's my little
yeah.
scroll. That would be great if you just share this and send it out, because I can I'm trying to get some really good people here. Steve and I are having a ball. We've been wanting to do this for years. We were doing it for years, but it was just audio, and this is great where we can actually have the gate behind us that Crispy opened up, and have all our
Yeah, you can see
episode art back.
all my stuff piled up behind me. I'm redoing my studio. You see lighting boxes and
And these are
synthesizer
not my
boxes and
windows. I wish I
guitar.
had. Look at there. Look at
Yeah,
that
the
window.
other
Isn't
night I
that
was
beautiful?
talking to
Look at that. I wish
Laura
that was my
Stevens, and
window.
we were trying to figure out what was real and what wasn't. I'm like, well, I know the stack of skulls is real, and I know that the crow is
My
real.
buddies. This is my crow. I don't know if you can see him, but that's my buddy.
Make
and I
him
got
talk.
Harry over here. Oh, this is Harry. Harry talks. Let me see
I was
here.
thinking it was the crow that
You
talks.
can hear him. I don't know if you can see him. This is Harry.
There you go. I knew you had something that talked.
Isn't he great? I get the greatest birthday presents. His eyes are just freaking out, look like a demon. Look at there. I've seen those eyes before. You don't want to see them in real life. Trust me. I've seen them more than once. But yeah, I just got the coolest stuff. But yeah, my little ghost, my little Crispy. People send me little Crispies. Look at that. Ain't he cute?
I've got green screen and a hanger and everything to put it on, but I'm still redoing everything in here. I've got 2 new desks in here. I'm trying to rejuggle my synthesizers and everything that's on that side of the room, and I'm having to move stuff from over here and put it over there and then move stuff.
That's
Poor
all
little
right.
Mulder, he don't know what's going on.
You're doing all the things that we love, Steve. You're doing exactly what you were meant to do, my friend, and we love you for it. Also, I wanted to say about the Titanic. I forgot what it was, but they were talking about, like we said, that they're going to go out again. And I wanted to know if you had any predictions on that. If they're going to follow the path, that ship going anywhere near where the other one is, if those orbs are there, I'm wondering if they're going to follow that path, because that's one of the main things. They want to follow the path.
Yeah,
and
they
I
want
don't
to
know if
complete
that's
the
true.
voyage. Boy, I don't know. I would
I
hate
think
to
they're gonna
say
jump
I think
on.
it's gonna
I think they're going to
sink,
jump on.
But I'm also thinking, what better a target for? I mean, you talk about a soft target for terrorists or somebody of that mind.
Right? Human beings are always worse
If
than
you
the
wanted
dead.
to get attention, here's the recreation of the Titanic doing the same journey. Attack it, and you'd be worldwide famous instantly for whatever your cause or religion or whatever you were trying to do there.
Right.
So I can see a lot of different things working against it, but I would like to see them try it. I'd like to see them make it just there.
Yeah, just to finish it. Yeah, but I do believe that some of them would jump on, because why wouldn't
I think
they?
so. They're going to be passing through those same waters, and I think some of those people are still out there floating around and having no idea that they're even dead, or where they are, or why they're there, or what happened, or where'd the boat go, where's everybody else. And other people, I don't know. What do we do? What do we do?
Well,
they've
Steve,
been there for 110 years.
That might just be why. I know this sounds silly to put it this way, but that just might be why. If they are so lost, a bit literally lost at sea, then these artifacts would be all they had to connect to and to latch on to, and a piece of coal, a hand mirror, or whatever. But if they're having that much activity at exhibits that are just replicas, something like this coming through that actually really looks like the whole thing would be a big draw. I think that there's probably going to be quite a few paranormal people on that ship when it goes. It's not going to just be people that want to go on the voyage.
Telling you, just my gut, just my granny senses. I don't have a good feeling about it. I really don't. There's something dark there. It's something that I don't even want to think about, but it's just it's something that doesn't seem right about it.
Mm-hmm.
I may
And
be
Steve and I have
totally wrong, but
predicted many of things, especially Steve, where he'll call me and I get calls from Steve. It's like, "Hey, I think I know where her body is." There's another story, but he'll call me and tell me, "I feel this. What are you feeling? Are you feeling something?" So when something big is about to come, it's almost like your whole body's
mhm.
making a fist, and that's the way I feel about this Titanic thing. And I thought it myself was just because of all the the just sheer anguish I feel for these people. And
Mhm.
like I said, I don't, anytime I've ever grabbed, and I've been a bartender, I've grabbed a lot of ice. I'm
Yeah.
just saying. And
Well,
I always think of this is freezing, this is 32, it was 28 degrees when they hit
yeah,
that water. It took 2 hours and 40 minutes for the thing to sink. So 2 hours and 40 minutes, it sounds like a long time with all that hustle and bustle and everything else. Just think about it. When they first hit it, the ice came onto the ship, and they were picking the ice up, putting it in their drinks, and having cocktail hour. They were having a good time out there on the promenade. So that whole 2 hours and 40 minutes was not used to escape that ship. It took a long time for people to realize what was going on. So they didn't have that long at all. And it's just horrific, right down to
yeah.
the music and the band
And
playing to the
again,
end.
I see it as almost like an affront to the people that did perish, like kind of rubbing their face in it, like, see, we
Yeah.
did it this time.
Hmm.
And then it's also just, it's tempting fate. I mean, that was,
Yes.
they claimed that even God couldn't sink the Titanic, and God showed them otherwise. So God is still God. What's to say it won't sink again if they're claiming that they're going to build it unsinkable this time? I would rather say maybe it won't sink this time. So that way, instead of saying it's unsinkable, it's maybe this one's not as sinkable.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if they go at it with arrogance, they are just tempting
Yeah.
fate too.
Yeah.
And that's the way that is, and it almost always is. So
Mhm.
I there's so many different stories. The coal one got me the most, and now look at what's happened. We've got a little scientific experiment going here. That's a good thinking, Steve. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I
Maybe,
think
who
that's what I'm
knows?
going to do. I'm going to get a piece of the coal. I'm going to get all the prop and replica stuff I can. We'll have a Titanic experience box. We'll
Okay.
send that around, and one person keep it, a week, 2 weeks, whatever, then pass it on to the next person.
Okay.
Film whatever happens, if anything,
Uh-huh.
and then we'll all get together and compare things and have a premiere and a big long stream of this happened or that happened, or we could do it as it moves around the country, do live streams with it. We'll
Oh
figure all
wow.
that out.
Oh, what
But
a wonderful idea. I
I'll
mean,
get
and maybe at the end of it, the grand finale, maybe we can get a couple of these people crossed over, or at least, connected with their loved ones,
yeah,
because that's
that's
something
well,
we always know. They're always searching for their loved ones. And if their loved ones are on the other side,
yeah.
they could be in the same room and not know it. So, maybe we can help sort some of that out. That'd
Well,
be
there you
great.
go. Well, yeah, it's a grand finale. Then everybody will send everything to you, and you can cross them over
Okay. I'll do it. I'll do it. That
if
could
we
be.
have any evidence or anything. But
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Let's get that down, and we'll put it all in a book and call it the Titanic Experiment. We'll put that up on Amazon. Everybody can read about it for years and years to come. How about that?
yeah, there you go.
That sounds wonderful. It would be a collective effort amongst a lot of people, with energy. I've read a lot of these comments tonight, and a lot of the people are saying that everybody in here seems to have a lot of similarities. Of course, we're all drawn to this for that reason, and just curiosity. But most people have compassion, and it's intriguing, and it's one of those things that we'll never really solve. At least maybe not while we're on this side, anyway. And who knows? We all think we're going to get the answers when we cross over, but maybe we won't. Maybe we're not supposed to know. But
Yeah,
like Hans Holzer said, I've never been afraid of a ghost. They're just people in need of help.
yeah,
And I can tell you right now, with all those orbs dancing over the wreckage and stuff, and following coal and mirrors and shoes and exhibits and stuff like that, there's a lot of souls out there that could use some help. So say a little prayer for those that rode the Titanic tonight before you go to sleep, chat. And I thank every single one of you for being in here. Thank you to all the mods on Common Belief and Pseudonym, and go and see Steve at 13 past midnight. You got some ghost stories running tonight, Steve?
yeah. Part two of the Lizzie Borden story. This was written at the time that it happened. The guy that attended the trial and saw that went on the part two of that. So you've got time to go watch part one, the Fall River. I forget what it's Fall River Tragedy is the name of the book,
Oh, wow.
and it
Oh,
was
That's another one.
Well, I had it loaded up here. Now, I've been there. Now, when I was there, you couldn't spend the night in it, but now you can spend the night there. I'd almost like to do that. I think that'd be interesting. The one I wouldn't spend the night in is the Villisca Axe Murder
Visca
House.
Axe Murder House.
We were talking about that last night. There's
Hmm.
just something dark there. But yeah, this book, The Fall River Tragedy, was written by Edwin H. Porter. He lived from 1864 to 1904. And this was all firsthand evidence by people that were there at the trial. This is like right when it happened. And it talks about how it was more or less a blueprint for today's cable news and sensational stories. It was the first crime story like that that really captured the attention of the nation. So it's worth a listen. Like I said, go over to 13 past midnight, listen to part one. And then tonight will be volume 179 nights in a row.
Wow.
Ran stories over there. Actually, 180. I'm not counting the one night that my computer was down. And I just came on and said, there's not going to be any stories tonight. Boo. There's But
Boy, that's happened to me.
170 nights in a row. Also, want to remind everybody, 89 days until Halloween. So get
Woo!
ready.
Here we go.
I was
89
posting,
days.
Grandin Road links in my chat last night. Go over there. I'm not an affiliate or anything, but go check out what Grandin Road has available as far as Halloween decorations.
Well,
You won't be disappointed.
Absolutely. And I can tell you officially, when Cracker Barrel puts their Halloween stuff out, they're usually in the first week of July. Pretty soon we're going to back it up so much we're just year round. You know, a lot of stores are, but it's starting to come out. And I get crazy with, because Steve and I have Halloween all year round. I know a lot of people here probably do too, but I don't ever take my stuff down. If you can see all the stuff in here, I've got all kinds of, all kind of spell book boxes and all kinds of stuff. But that's just it. You're in this. You're in it. Usually you're in it pretty deep, and why not? If we can put some words out there, we get wonderful stuff out of the chat and information. And look what happened tonight. There might just be an experiment that might
something that I don't think anybody's ever done before. So we'll see what happens.
What a wonderful thing.
Wednesday night, the same time slot, 8 p.m. Eastern. Join us over on Jim and Jade's channel. We're going to be doing Oracle card readings. I've got some new decks in that I haven't used. Got a Magic of You Oracle. I used this one last time, this Dark Mirror, where you shine a light on the darkness in yourself and see what you can find out. Got some new ones on the way too. Whispering Woods.
Oh, nice.
Got several other decks here I'll be trying out. So join us for Oracle card readings. Had a lot of fun doing that. It's one card readings. It's not like tarot where it's a big long drawn out thing, so we can move a lot of people through real quick.
It sounds outstanding.
And be sure and subscribe to Cisco. Help her get to 1 million. That's what she's got there on her thing. She's got 1,000K. That'd be 1 million, right?
I don't know.
Help her get to 1K, and then from there we'll get to 1,000K.
I did too. I was thinking big that day. I'll settle for 1,000 would be nice, because I don't know if you know, but when you get 1,000 on YouTube, a lot of other things, happen up.
It gets easier.
Like just for example, yesterday I did a thing with, like I said, Mark Shaw and the death of Marilyn Monroe. And I did a great little intro for him. And for some reason, the first intro played twice and then his intro played. I have no idea how that happened. And I went to try to cut it up and, fix it. But if you only have so many subscribers, you only are allowed a certain thing. So it would have replaced the one that we did. Yeah, it would have replaced the one we did. And we would have lost the views and the live chat, which I think is so important, because I don't get to see everything that goes by, but after 24 hours or so and the video processes, the live chat will come back live again, so I can go back and read it and answer any questions maybe the next night or whatever that I'm on. And you just can't do any of that if you don't have 1,000. So that would be great if anybody could share it, share. It helps.
Let's get her at least over 1,000. You should have 100,000 already.
Well, like I said, we did, but once conflict got dropped, that was it. So I spent the whole first 3 years getting all the subscribers and everything with that, and then wiped out on YouTube. And now I'm shadow banned because I tell the truth. So and so it helps.
Join us Friday night on Missing Person Mysteries for Campfire Stories, and then again on Sunday for Fireside Chat. We are currently 99,355 subscribers. So
great. And
it absolutely blew up, and I want to thank each and every one of you for subscribing to that channel.
absolutely great
I
channel.
am blessed.
Absolutely
Indeed.
great channel. And I couldn't be happier for you, Steve. It's just wonderful. It's what I prayed for you for.
Yep.
It's like I knew you were meant to do it. I pushed you, just like you pushed me to write the book. And that's what friends are for.
And
So,
here I am. Yep.
and here
And
we are, baby.
you've got a couple more books in you too. We gotta nudge you,
Oh,
poke you
yeah.
with a stick a little more.
Get them all out there, that's for
Yeah.
sure. But tonight, chat, thank you so much for being here. This week I've got Bill Bean coming on. He is spiritual warrior. I'll tell you how good Bill Bean is. I've got Gettysburg Bash coming up on the 20th to the 24th. That's in Gettysburg. So if you've not been there and you're close by, you want to come by and say hi, we'll all be there. We're going to do I've been told there's a little boy there that needs some help. So we're going to go and see if we can't help him and whoever else pops up, because they always do. And Bill Bean, it's so good that the last time I went to the Gettysburg Bash, they had a demonology seminar. So you could pay like $5 and do extra things, and go hear a seminar for over here, or go, see a psychic over here, or whatever it is. So we go into this one. It's just filled with people, and there's 6 people on the stage, all telling they're either full-on demonologists now or working towards that, and active in the field. And everyone got up and did their story. 5 out of the 6 of them got saved through Bill Bean, and Bill Bean taught them to go out there. This is now you're supposed to go help other people and fight. So Bill Bean is a spiritual warrior, bar none. And anybody that has something that dark that's after them, and they call me and they ask me, do you have somebody? That's the first name out of my mouth. Yep, Bill Bean. So he's coming on. He's a wonderful brother too. And we've got a lot of other things scheduled and coming up. What I'm trying to do is pop these up at 8 p.m. Yesterday was a matinee because that's the only time Mark and I had put it off. He had dental surgery too. So that's where you're going to see most of them popping up, usually Sunday, Monday nights. And of course, Monday nights are always here with my dear friend Steve. Thank you for spending this
My
Titanic
pleasure. I
night.
look forward to it.
I do too.
We did like 2 hours tonight, which is
Wow.
awesome. Goes by quick.
It's just blinking, it's gone.
An hour's just too little. You can't. I'm still saying hello to everybody.
I know. I know. So yeah, so probably a good 2 hours. Steve and I could do 2 hours standing on our head blindfold.
Yeah.
But that's just the way it is, because I think sometimes the spirits tell us what they want to say, and I think they got us all here tonight. So I'm glad Laura did get out of the shower. Okay, didn't you, honey?
Yeah, I think she's
good to go. Okay, good. We got Laura out of the shower, and nobody's had a tongue stuck in their ear yet. At least not a tongue. At least not a tongue they didn't want in their ear. So there's that. So that's good so far. We got a Titanic experiment coming up, and like tonight before you go to sleep, think about those poor souls.
Say a little prayer
prayer.
for those Titanic people.
Yeah.
And pseudonym, I'll be in touch with you. And then all my gals and guys, I'll see you tonight at midnight Pacific time.
Okay, real quick here. Laura's asking, do we need tickets for Gettysburg? I believe you get them. It's one of those where you can go in and pay for one day, or you can buy all 3. I don't know how much it is because it's been 2 years. It was canceled last year for COVID. You can ask Pam and Steve Barry on Facebook, or go to the Hoover House Facebook. But I would go straight to Pam Barry. She seems to be the one with the answers on all that stuff. And you can just pay for the day that you go in, and all the exhibits, and see all the paranormal investigators, and all kind of people there. Jack Kenna's usually there. He's a wonderful man. He'll be on here too. Absolutely terrific to talk to. So many people. Mark will be there. Mark is a fantastic Gettysburg investigator. There's so many people, so it's totally worth it. It's at the Wyndham, and I will stay in any hotel. It's got cannons in the lobby, baby.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Laura Cisco has been begging me to go to this for years. Now Laura's begging me to go. I'll get there. I don't know if I'll make it this year, but if not this year, next year, I hope to be back east next year anyway, and it'll be a lot easier to get there. So.
Oh, sure will, my friend. I can't wait to give you a big old hug. You can't get here fast enough. We love you, Steve. Thanks for coming on. Again, share this if you can. If you can share it to anybody you think might be interested on your Facebook pages or whatever. We're 150 away from getting there, and that would be absolutely awesome.
Let's get her over the hump, so it does get easier. That first 1,000, the first 100 is very, very difficult, but that first 1,000, it's like pulling teeth. But then after that, it seems to get easier and go faster, and each other. Unseen Paranormal Podcast, that's where I'm headed. Probably, if not East Tennessee, around the Gatlinburg, Townsend area. I'll be in Middle Tennessee in Fentress County. I've been looking at some houses and land over there, but definitely Tennessee.
Yes. Oh, beautiful, beautiful out there. I lived in Alabama for
Like
years.
Fentress County, because it's kind of equidistant between, say, Knoxville and Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Cokeville's close, Crossville's right there. So
Mm-hmm.
my kind of area over there, plus
You just
land and
can't beat
houses are.
the people and the air and everything else. It's
A
just
house
lovely.
that I looked at in Gatlinburg, it's almost $800,000, $900,000. Same house in Fentress County, you're talking like maybe $320,000. So there's big
difference.
disparity in the land prices there, but it comes right down to it. A house is a house, woods are woods. I want to be on the edge of the woods. Fentress County, Big South Fork National Forest or Park or recreation area, whatever it is, right there. I can have woods, no neighbors, and hopefully an abandoned graveyard or two.
There you go. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for coming in tonight for Monday Madness. And it was absolutely wonderful chat. And we appreciate all of you participating and coming in. So join us, I guess, next Monday for what did you say? Which bottles and what?
Witch jars and spirit bottles.
There you go. We're on it.
It's going to be fun.
We're on it.
Thanks again, Cisco, for having me on. Again, all my guys and gals, I love each and every one of you. I'll see you a little further on down the road, and I'll talk to you later. Steve Stockton, I'm out. Thanks, Cisco.
Thank you, love. I got a little outro here. We're going to try it, see if it works. Here we go. Maybe. Yeah. Good night, everybody.